just the packages. There's no mixing of the players trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be on this down, who's going to be on this down.
I get
different things. Josh Gordon hasn't really got much. People are saying they shouldn't even bother to sign Josh Gordon because he's another flash and playing like the Le'Veon Bell, like the Kelvin Benjamin.
Well, that's just
the only guy that really panned out that I see to an extent. The only player we signed that's really, in my opinion, that's kind of worked out in the past has been Terrell Suggs when he brought that pass rushing off the edge that really helped us in third down situations. So,
well, I think that's a lot of people just talking out their ass too when it comes to, bringing Gordon in for no reason, because look, that's not on him. Period. End of story.
Oh, no one's saying it's Gordon's fault, but the issue is that because he hasn't got no play time, we're just like, what are we gonna do? Because it's been so frustrating.
It's almost set up for a failure type of situation.
Well, and this is the thing: you got people mad at saying we don't need OBJ because he's terrible. Now they're mad that he went to the Rams like, oh, Veach doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, that's my whole
point. You
can't
have it either than other.
Yeah, they're never going to be happy.
Well, yeah, you're never going to be happy. It's just frustrating to see. Like, I would want to have him just primarily the reason that we need help on the wide receiver to help spread out the offense. Because Sammy was good when he was out there. And obviously, Veach did not bring in anyone else unless Josh Gordon can somehow come on the scene. But granted, he hasn't played football in a year and a half. Technically a year because he played in that FAF, Fan Control Football League. So we'll see what happens. But it's just interesting to see kind of pushing forward how they will figure it out moving forward.
I think, with Josh, I do believe he's going to see more, especially now. But he was set up, in my opinion, and I'm just going to say it because I don't really care, but I think given the situation since he's been here with the coaching staff and Andy kind of being on the sidelines, if you will. And then when I say that, when I say that, I mean not being on the sidelines, but just being there, but not really being existent or being involved. Mm-hmm. That was part of the problem. It was in fact, that was all the problem. And if you noticed, he was involved a little more in the Giants game, and then he got really involved in the Green Bay game.
But there's one thing he's not doing that we always see.
I know.
He's not sitting next to Pat on the sideline.
But here's the thing, he will. And I think that's going to come down to, it's just going to take a little bit more time for him to get more. I know there's a lot of frustration in that offensive room. And it's going away. It's slowly going away. That's going to go away completely next year. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it right now. I don't care what anyone wants to think. It has nothing to do with Andy, but I promise you there's going to be a lot of changes come next year within the coaching staff.
Oh, there has to be. We've seen too much inconsistency.
Yeah. And there's a lot of egos that need to go away. And Andy says, there's one thing that Andy always says, and all these people that say Andy's a stubborn old man, Andy's got an ego, he doesn't. And the one thing that Andy always preaches, the first thing he says when you walk in the door, when people open up the door, check your ego at the door. And Andy truly means that, because you shouldn't have an ego when you walk in that door. Some people have a big ass ego. Their head got really big for a little while, with all the talk about, oh, you should be this, you should be that. And then when they get the opportunity, they screw it up completely. And they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And now there was three things that happened during this season that changed the course of our season. Okay. One, a completely new offensive line that wasn't gelled completely. Now they're gelling. Two, a quarterback that didn't trust the offensive line because they weren't gelling. And his whole world was turned upside down for an entire year with everything. Then number three, Andy wasn't himself from week 2 on, and somebody else stepped in and had a giant ego and took over. And you know what irritates me? I'm going to say this because it's already out. So what the hell does it matter to us now? Because we decided to have a show last week, and out of sheer frustration and me asking if it was okay to say something. And I didn't overstep my bounds of what we could say, but we did say what was going on with Andy and who was calling plays and from week 2 on. And then we did that show on Sunday night. Our show pretty much got listened to on Monday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And guess what was on Tuesday morning on ESPN? What? ESPN has a show, and the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth on the show is that, wow, we didn't really know, but Andy Reid's been not calling the plays for the last 4 or 5 weeks. It was Eric Bieniemy. And it sure looks like that was the problem. And now that Andy's back, things start to sure seem to be changing since Andy's calling the plays. Well, it's very strange to me, and I think I know where it came from or who listened to the show and it got spewed to ESPN, but that's okay. It is what it is. The problem that I have with it is that no one gives us credit for where it came from. But and again, that's okay. Again, it is what it is. That happens to us continually, and it's happened for 5 years. Not just with the bigger outlets, but some people on Twitter as well. The problem is that now it's a household thing. And we were the ones that knew that. Not one other outlet, not one other reporter had mentioned this. Not one. It's no different than when we mentioned that his brother was kind of causing him some issues within his mindset on the show. And then all of a sudden it comes out in 3 different articles the next day that his brother's causing him some issues and he's miserable because of the TikTok shit. Well, it tells me that people listen to our show and they run with stuff, and that's okay because no one else had mentioned that stuff prior to our show. Not one major outlet, not one small outlet. The smaller outlets on Twitter run with our stuff all the time. They've been doing this to Chiefs Focus for 5 years. That's how they got bigger. And we, continue to do our stuff the right way. And they decided to run with our stuff, and they come up with 40,000 followers, and they argue with people all the time and do stupid shit. And we do the same thing the right way all the time. And that's okay. We'll do what we do, and we'll do it the right way. But it does get a little bit annoying after a while. And it's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for you. I know it's frustrating for you. You started this, and we're trying to build something great. And it's very frustrating when you see somebody that continually takes your stuff and runs with it, and for some reason they get credit for it. It is what it is.
And there's not one person.
It's not just one person, but there's been a couple, and one main one on Twitter. And then now you got other people that are running with it, and it's just sad. But, eventually people will see it. And now we are getting DMs and people that are noticing it, and they're telling us, Jesus, are they ever going to stop taking your stuff? I can prove that. I've gotten probably 15, 20 DMs saying that. So it is what it is. In fact, somebody DM'd me that about somebody retweeted what the ESPN, and I'm not going to say who the outlet is because I'm not going to embarrass them on this show, but everybody knows who they are. Somebody DM'd me their retweet of the ESPN show because I didn't see the show.
And I didn't hear. You brought it to my attention.
Correct. So I opened up the retweet from that outlet, and they actually never said a word about it prior to this show. This outlet didn't. But the show's talking about what we talked about on our show the prior day. And then all of a sudden this outlet tags onto it and starts running with it. And I'm like, seriously, you never said a word about this. And now all of a sudden you're running with it like it's your story when it's not your story. ESPN ran with it like it was something they came up with when they didn't. Well, I have a feeling I know where it came from, and that's okay.
Well, because you got a lot of connections, and a lot of people listen to our show. You told me behind the scenes who specifically does, and we know who does.
Correct.
So
correct, and that's okay. We have some friends and affiliates and people that listen to our show.
That's the way. That's why we are so big as we are now, because of connections we both have, especially with you, who you have in general.
Yeah.
So
it is what it is, man.
we have multiple people check marks following us, people in the media, different things, like you said, a couple people that are like movie stars and stuff too.
Yeah,
joke have followed us and interactions. So there's a lot of people. So we continue always to put a positive image out there. Yeah. So when we say something, we don't put it out just because we're trying to get clicks. It's meaningful.
Correct. And there's a lot of things that we don't put out because we don't.
Yeah, there's a lot we don't.
Yeah. You don't know how much stuff we have that we could put out just to get clicks, but we don't. We don't want that kind of following, and we don't want to embarrass or overstep our bounds. And that's not something that we do. And that's why we're liked by the media or certain media people, and we're liked by the Chiefs, and we're liked by other outlets and other teams, or I shouldn't say outlets, but other, whether it be agents or whoever else that we're friends with, and stars. I mean, we've got movie stars and baseball players and football players and everybody else that interact with us. So,
I mean, Sammy Watkins follows the account before he left. He signed up and followed back in the summer. So
I mean, it's not unheard of. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that have been on the show and guys that are still want to come on the show. I mean, we've got a lot of big time people, and they won't follow others because of that reason. So it is what it is. Moving on, though, I think we're going to see a lot more Josh, and we're going to see a lot more of him progressing in this offense. And I think he'll be fine. He's an extremely intelligent football player. I know I've said this before. His football IQ is off the charts. He knows how to play the game. It's not a matter of that. He was not utilized correctly and not given the tools to succeed because of a certain reason. That's going away. And I think we will see more of him. I think we're going to see a lot of him this weekend. That's just my opinion. I haven't heard much. I did hear a little bit that we will see him more, but I think we're going to see a lot more of him. And this is a big game coming up for us because we are playing, a rival, and we definitely want to beat them in their house. So we're just going to have to see what happens. I know the defense is ready to go, and I know Chris Jones is definitely ready to go. So
it's Raiders week. Yeah,
it's Raiders week. It's Raiders week. So it's just time to step up and move forward. So we've got to, and we're doing that. I mean, all the complaints and the talk and the chatter, and somebody brought it up tonight about the reason why OBJ didn't come here was because of the most toxic thing that was brought up. That's not the reason at all. He's friends with Tyrann Mathieu. He went to, why is this a thing still? It was a comment that was made out of frustration because of the 15%ers that can't stop saying negative things. Now it's, we suck because we couldn't get OBJ.
But half the fan base didn't want him. I literally took a poll.
We put out
every other one was, I want OBJ, or no, he's a toxic. He's a cancer to the locker room.
But the same people are now saying this.
I'm like, what is going on?
But now the same exact people are going on there saying, God, we suck. We couldn't get OBJ. The same guys that said, no, why would we want him? So it's just, you can't please these people. So it's no point in it. We're in a group chat and with some guys, and I told them in that group chat, we had a shot at him. We had a good shot at him. It was all over the place. And we didn't know whether, at one point I thought we were a shoo-in, which we probably were at one. We actually were at one point. But I told them also, if we do not get him, don't get mad because he has an opportunity to go anywhere he wants. This is the first time he has been in a situation where he can pick and choose where he wants to go. He wanted to go where he was best suited to play and win. And that's what he did. He's on. And when I found out about that West Coast team, the three people I called, other than Harold, was the only one that believed it because he knows. And when I talked to him today, I said, well, there's the West Coast team. And he goes, you were right. So it's not a matter of being right or wrong. It's just when you hear something and it's true, you start to second guess things.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it just kind of is what it is. In fact, I told Nick when he put it out on Twitter today, he said, somebody had mentioned one of those outlets, wow, that was fast. And Nick said extremely. And I actually tweeted back to Nick. I said, Nick is, by the way, is the Chiefs insider. I said, I told you that there was a West Coast team that was bidding on him. And he liked it back because he knew it was true. I did tell him that on the phone. And I think I even texted it to him, and I texted Harold the same thing. And it was true. I knew that team was, originally I thought it was Seattle. I didn't think the Rams had the money. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, okay, they opened up a roster spot. They got their asses handed to them. So why not bring in somebody like that?
The only reason why they cut Deshaun because they knew he would want to come here. So
maybe, yeah. And their name was never mentioned by anybody. It was Green Bay, the Saints, the Chiefs, and the Patriots.